Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Vault of Dr. Obvious. In case you didn't already guess, that's me. In this, the inaugural episode, I'm going to talk about bad monster movies. Now, don't get me wrong, nobody loves a bad monster movie more than I do. I've been a fan of this stuff since I was a little obvious, long before I earned my advanced degrees in obvious science. The vast majority of monster movies are low-budget affairs, so not many really rise to that true pinnacle of realistic monsterdom, which is okay if the director knows how to properly hide the bad stuff and frame the bear, as the guys on the Outer Limits used to call their weekly monster, just right. Truth is, though, there's a lot of folks out there who still make these movies that aren't really picky. Slap it together. Put it out there. Somebody's going to watch it. Yep. And that's probably going to be me. So let's get started, shall we?
A lot of people say that this is the worst monster movie of all time. For those who don't know, behold the majesty that is the Giant Claw. The movie had some of the finest B actors of the day: Jeff Morrow, Maria Corday, and Morris Ankrum. All of these and the supporting cast really did put in good work with the material that they had. When they were on screen, you could tell that they weren't phoning it in. This is probably because none of them had seen the Claw. He wasn't added until after a live shooting had ended. I think they were all led to believe that he would all be animated by some pro like Ray Harryhausen, so at least he'd be plausible. Unfortunately, the tight budget led to the producers farming the special effects work out to a firm in Mexico that made and used a puppet. And just who wouldn't be horrified at a face like that? Well, as it turns out, nobody. Poor Jeff Morrow took his family to the premiere and was so embarrassed he snuck everybody out of the theater. But the truth is, as bad as the Claw is, he really isn't the worst, not by a long shot. Some movies are hampered by low budgets but still try. Framing, lighting, and optical techniques can make something not so good almost acceptable. Well, so long as you don't do close-ups. This is from The King of the Quickie, Roger Corman's epic Attack of the Crab Monsters. Gotta say though, full-sized articulated puppets do cost money, so credit where credit is due. But what if you don't even have the $1.59 for the puppet? Well, you spring for some latex tentacles, throw water on them, and tell the actor to grab one and pretend it's strangling them. That's what they did in Bride of the Monster, an Ed Wood classic. And here, in Attack of the Beast Creatures, put 'em up in a tree, and then throw 'em on the actor. Arg! Must hold doll on neck. You can do a lot with trash bags, too. These are from Attack of the Giant Leeches, another Corman classic cheapie. And these starfish aliens from Warning from Space look like somebody hired Mom to stitch up costumes for the elementary school play. Okay, so let's go back to puppets. When I talk about puppets in monster movies, aside from the Claw, I think most of you savvy viewers out there will immediately recognize this guy. Yep, it's Reptilicus, the Danish answer to Godzilla, a true pioneer in monster movie history, visible strings and all. And who can forget the green stuff? That poorly animated green stuff. I remember laughing at this even as a little kid. But you know, as silly as Reptilicus is, he is in no way the worst puppet monster. As of the time I made this video, I really gotta say, this is the rabbit puppet from Beaster Day. Now you may want to argue with me, but you can't deny this is really bad. Even the suit is bad. Really, really bad. So did they just give up, run out of money, or say, meh, good enough? You decide. And speaking of bad suits, behold the horror that is the god monster of Indian Flats. And the Milpitas monster. And the creeping terror, Brought to you by Bargain Fabric Warehouse. Okay, there are times when you just can afford a prop like this, the brain from Planet Eros. They almost pulled it off, too, until they forgot to edit out the strings and the scenes where it bounced off of John Agar and kinda swung back and forth aimlessly. Same goes for this other cerebral classic from the fabulous 80s, just called The Brain. No Eros this time. A little more money. So they actually had a cart to push the brainy thing around and articulated its jaws for close-up. Unfortunately, fight scenes still required strings and a willingness to wrestle with an inanimate object. Well, moving on, let's look at another way movie magic makers could make monsters on the cheap. In Attack of the Killer Shrews, the good folks threw costumes over dogs, since shrews just don't grow that big and nobody would ever know. Nope, nobody would ever know. Or if putting a Halloween costume on your animal just doesn't cut it, just use the animal. Make everything else look smaller. What did they do to that poor bunny? And don't you just hate it when the giant rabbits come in your house uninvited and eat up all your Chinese food?
Well, I think that's enough bad for right now. I know there's so much more out there, and I promise, if you ask nicely, I'll get it for you. And don't forget, hit the like button and subscribe if you can stomach more of Dr. Obvious. I'm also on X, which used to be Twitter, and Gab. See you next time.